try Mira's quiche.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Point of View. Today I have the most highly esteemed ballet master, Pegler, and as you guys know, you will see him from the last 3 seasons of Life on Pointe. I'm so honored to have you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, it's a pleasure to do this. I'm very glad you asked.
Fun fact, this entire Point of View, the Artist's Life, BTS, the process was actually all inspired by a conversation we had back in May of this year. So I wanted to say thank you for helping me find my voice and helping me figure out what I wanted to share with the world. This episode is being brought to you from the Carmel Coffee and Cocoa Bar. So thank you guys so much for letting us film. Definitely come check it out. It's a wonderful place and it's so beautiful. So we're actually going to just get straight into this interview. So I just wanted to go straight in, dig deep, say what you want to say. How do you think ballet has changed for the better and for the worse?
Wow. Well, I think ballet has obviously, it's changed with the times. You know, if you look back to the start of ballet, it's a totally different world that we lived in back then. And you know, gosh, there's so many avenues one could talk about. Ballet is different in every country that it's in. I think, you know, you can look at it from the technical aspect of ballet, the training. I think the training of classical ballet dancers now is much more rigorous than it was. I think, you know, we've learned a lot medically. Through the medical profession, we've learned about what ballet does to the human body. You know, there are a lot of wonderful things ballet does, but there's also a lot of potentially harmful things that ballet can do to the body. And I think through learning and through seeing what's happened over the years, and I think through medical knowledge we've gained, I think we now know. We can make better choices, better decisions, and have better strategies for training dancers. Safer strategies. We know a lot more about, you know, injury and the cause of injury, injury prevention. I think the advent and inclusion of Pilates in ballet training and dance training has been massive. You know, it's so much about stability of the torso. Yeah, it's so complex. I mean, we could go on and on, but I think in that regard, in terms of the technique, the training, we've learned a lot about, as I say, the body. You know, and also ballet, you know, it's rooted in tradition. You go back to the origins of ballet and what was in vogue in the world back then, the era of art and literature and music that ballet was born out of. The influences politically in the world at the time of ballet. And, you know, the choreographers that created the ballets, you know, what their influences were. And of course, you know, we've now evolved significantly. You know, there was a very rich era of classical ballet we talk about. You know, this is like the second half of the 19th century. And I think those are sort of our classical ballets that we reflect on. And the neoclassical era, you know, in the 20th century, it's about pushing boundaries as well. It's about exploring new things. Sometimes it's, you know, political issues. And, you know, certainly in Russia there was a period of time where, you know, the outline of a classical ballet was almost dictated. You know, those in power wanted ballet choreographed about a certain political issue or a certain message. In China, it was very much that way. We don't have that here in the West so much. You know, the advent of ballet in the United States, really in the 1950s, ballet was taken through the Midwest. It was a very important time and brought classical ballet to a lot of people that didn't know anything about it. And, you know, the formation of American ballet theatre in this country was really, it's a massive thing. Alan Sheen's influence in American ballet was huge. So, I'm sort of going all over the place really, but I think the more time goes on, the faster things go. It's sort of like in everyday life. You have like what's in fashion today is gone next week.
Yeah.
And dance as a whole, it's continues to evolve. The fundamental principles of classical ballet stay the same, but I think we're just pushing boundaries all the time. Encouraging choreography, young choreographers, giving them a platform and a stage, and so you're getting the voice of a much wider range of people, whereas before perhaps it was confined to people we labelled as master choreographers, or the grandfathers of classical ballet choreography. Now it's wonderful to see a lot of young choreography. Different views of life, different views of society. So I think it's changed. I mean, it could go on and on.
You're right.
Yeah. And I think it's very important to know that you can modernize ballet. It's not time locked. It has to be done in the old traditional way. But I think one has to keep in mind that it is ultimately it's an old-fashioned craft.
Right.
It's an art, and we have to keep in mind where it came from. And you cannot rush. There are no shortcuts to the training process, and so it's just it can be very hazy, that line, like it's modern, so just want to do it in a modern way. But there is no express route through to being trained. You've got to do that. That stays the same. It's dealing with the human body, and it's there's an evolutionary period with the training. It's about 8 years if you start at the right age.
So how do you think also that, you've talked a lot about how it's changed for the better and stuff, but in what ways do you think that ballet has changed maybe in a not so positive light? If you're brave enough.
Well, I'm brave. I don't know. I hope no one knows where I live. I think, I know we're going to talk about this maybe in a minute, but I think it's not that long ago that I was in school. And, it's... when I was in school, there was no internet. And we didn't have this wonderful engine called YouTube, which arguably is an amazing database of visual feast. But when I was in school, we had our teachers who we revered and respected, and would talk to us about the great dancers. We would see pictures in magazines and in books. Occasionally the odd video cassette of a performance or two. Sometimes it would be a black market video cassette of something from the Kirov. I think a lot of it was we had a lot of curiosity. And I think we were very driven. We'd see a video of Baryshnikov doing Don Q with Cynthia Harvey or something like that. And so we'd be in the studio wanting to do Don Q like Baryshnikov. Right. And, we might only have seen the video once. Maybe somebody had a poster of Baryshnikov. Maybe there was a possibility Baryshnikov or someone like that was coming to the theatre in England. Maybe it was a one show. Could we get a ticket? Probably not. But it was all based on what we imagined. And we aspired to be like that. And we do something a certain way, and it was a lot of mimicking and through that a lot of self-discovery. And we'd try to do the pirouettes the way Schalfers prepared them, or do it the way Baryshnikov was doing. And we'd have each other's approval, and it was great fun. I think what's happened is that having the accessibility to performances and shows is great. We can see what we want to see. If I want to see Carla Fracci doing Giselle, which is quite a well-known production, all I have to do is punch it in the search engine and it's going to come up. I know I'm going to get it.
Yeah.
If I want to see Brishnikov doing Don Q, I just put Don Q and it's probably going to be one of the first things that comes up. It's there, so there's no waiting. There's no time where I just want it so bad that I've got to wait to see it. And I think, that's again reflective of the world we live in. We want it so we can have it. There's no, we don't have to wait, really. And so with that, it's gone this longing, not just to do it, but to even see it. I notice when I teach, students, while they're very capable, don't have they're not willingly there with their imagination, able to put it all out there on the table. They're very secretive and guarded about it for fear of how it may appear. And it's beyond, what it used to be. I think, what's happened is that if you're an artist, if you want to be an artist, you want to feel like you can contribute. I mean, I think unless you get to that point, you don't really know. You want to feel like you can make a difference. And the understanding is that at the moment, it's like it's all about the type of body you have, how pretty your feet are, how high your legs go, how long you can do a balance, how many pirouettes you can turn. And I saw a video about an Instagram video, and it was a girl about 13 years old doing 14 pirouettes in a hallway on a tile floor. And sure, it takes amazing technical skill and control to do that. And it was impressive, there's not an argument there. But the facts are, why is something like that defining how good she is? Because reality is, when would she ever use that?
Yeah.
She's certainly not going to use that alone. She may possibly do something like that in a pas de deux, but probably not that many. And if she were to use a pirouette like that alone, realistically, what are the circumstances? What is the perfect storm for something like that? She would need a live orchestra, she would need a gala performance, she would need to be the featured artist, she would need to have the conductor totally at one with her, she would need it to all come together. And I don't think you can realistically do something like that on demand. They come out of a very special moment. And the odds of getting all that together are very limited.
Yeah.
And the use of something like that is not really a purpose, it doesn't prove anything. And I'm a firm believer that the older I've got, the more experience I have, that what people really want, directors really want, is to have someone who can contribute to their company, to their pool of talent. Every professional dancer is going to have a good body. It's a given, it's a prerequisite. So, if you're worrying about how long you can hold your arabesque, or how pretty your arabesque is, or how many turns you can do, that's not going to get you a job.
Right.
And no one's impressed by that, really, except perhaps kids.
That is true, yeah.
And I often say, why are you obsessing over these things? And also, why are you valuing how good you are based on the likes of your own peer group and the opinions of your own peer group? Why are you learning solos and aspiring to do things like people who are 10, 11, 12, 13, and perhaps you're 14, 15, or 16? Why aren't you looking at a professional ballerina, which is what you're really working towards, and look at what they contribute through their performance? They're not about many pirouettes.
Yeah.
They're about the quality. It's all about quality of movement. And are you leaving your audience with something? You've impacted them. You've made a difference. You've changed their life. You've you've caught their attention. And at the end of the day, is the audience going home saying, I really want to get to know him. I wish I knew him. And, you know, that's sadly not where students are being guided.
Right.
They're being guided toward material things, phantom material things, misplaced values. And it's very worrying. It's very worrying because it's very damaging. It erodes people's self-esteem chronically. And, you know, it leads them to nothing, ultimately. You know, it's very sad. It's very sad. So, yeah, I think that's damaging. And I think for girls especially, it's very, very difficult. I mean, boys are they're not impervious to this kind of thing, but they're a little more resilient, I think, generally. Yeah, it worries me a lot, and I could go on about professional school training, which also is something I'm concerned about. Yeah, that's my thought for the time being.
You mentioned YouTube, that platform, and how that kind of goes with ballet and everything. What do you think about social media making such a huge impact on the ballet community and the dance community even? And how do you think what are the pros and cons of the social media age? I mean, because we are in a digital age, so it's all about getting yourself out there, you know. How important do you feel is that for a ballet or an upcoming professional?
Well, I think there are two sides. I think the pros first, which are important. If you look at professional dancers, ballet dancers, the ones we know about, hardly any of them have social media accounts. So that should tell you something. I think it's very, very good that companies, businesses, schools have that platform.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive. It's limitless as to who it can reach, exactly. And I think, you know, if used well, can showcase all of the most wonderful aspects of dance and give people a great insight into what is involved behind the scenes. I think that's really important because so many people just don't realise what's involved in, just in terms of a production, what's involved in the preparation. But, you know, in the life of a dancer, I think, you know, people like yourself who are doing a program that will go out on social media platform are doing a great service because, you know, it gives people insight and appreciation for something that's not perhaps mainstream.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's very good that we can see things and have access to the end result. You know, all the main ballet companies and dance companies, I shouldn't just say ballet, but all the dance companies in the world have social media platform that they use, and we can get a taste for what we all look towards, what may be coming to us in the theatre, things from the past that we perhaps forget about and we pause to appreciate and gives us greater understanding. So those are all great things. On the flip side, I am kind of concerned about, again, how young people use social media. I think it's, you know, I mean, my own students, I mean, it's all done with innocence, but I have concerns about several of my students having social media accounts devoted to their dance career, because realistically none of them have a career.
Right.
But it's almost like they set it up as if they do. So they're sort of living the pretend life of a ballerina. But they, you know, I have a lot of very talented students and they're all wonderful people. But I'm, you know, thinking a lot about this issue and whether I want to do something about it. I think their awareness of what they put out there, they need to be more aware. I think, as people put out videos of them using the nerve and pointing and facing their feet, no one's interested. Every dancer does that. And it's like everybody gets up and washes their face in the morning. I don't know. I think I put an Instagram of me washing my face or boiling a kettle or making a cup of tea. And I don't know why they have this need to do that or what they're trying to achieve. I have a student that she hasn't posted anything on her Instagram account actually, and I asked her, "Oh, you haven't posted anything?" And she said to me that she didn't have anything that she felt worth posting, and that she would post something when she felt it was worthwhile. I didn't really talk to her any further than that, but I think that says a lot.
Yeah.
I think young people, if they're going to use social media, if they really want to be effective, they should use it to make a positive difference, to show leadership, to set an example among their peers, perhaps people who look up to them and respect them, perhaps kids who are not quite there yet.
Especially with a generation that's so impressionable.
Well, that's it. And I think, why do they want to put photographs up of or show videos of doing foot exercises? I don't understand. And I think, the other downside is, like I mentioned a minute ago, of a 15, 16-year-old girl or boy training to be a dancer, who wants to be a dancer, who is, proficient, is able, is perhaps drawn to looking at a video of a 13-year-old doing multiple tricks, and they feel immediately like, well, if she can do it at 13, there's no hope for me at 16. And that again is, it's so sad, because often people who are doing things at 13 have been pushed there and too soon, and they can do the tricks, but they can't. They have nothing to offer. It's hollow, artistically speaking. And I think I just will say, I remember, it was a long time ago now, but I remember talking with somebody about some students that were about burning out.
Yeah.
And it was a student that had, from a very young age, 9 or 10, she'd done Key Tree Variation Act 3. And then she'd done Black Swan at 10 or 11, and Swan Hilda, and she'd basically done all the classical rep by the time she was 16. Been there, done that, got the tutu. And the problem was, when it came round to her doing it again, her point of reference was when she did it when she was 10. She was measuring up to that. And because the impression had been set, the die had been cast, as it were, it had all been learned based on the steps. It had not been learned based upon the character. And of course, not being disrespectful, but a 10-year-old girl or boy is not going to have generally speaking, not going to have the instinctive understanding of a 20, 25-year-old woman or man for which those roles were created. And I think if you look at Petitpart choreographing Key Tree, I'm sure he didn't look at it and think, oh, this would be great for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And it probably was the last thing on his mind.
Yeah.
And, he had a vision of what Key Tree was for him. And I think, in a mark of respect to the choreographer, we should be very, very careful about how we teach these variations, these ballets, and we pass them on, the manner in which we pass them on. And the people have an inherent understanding of why they were created, how they were created, when they were created, and that will take them ultimately to what they've been given and entrusted. And I think it's a crying shame, really, when you see these young kids doing all these things crammed full of tricks, because the values are all wrong, and it's very damaging to the art. So and I think social media feeds that monster very well.
Yeah.
So
So something that you had said back in May when I had transcribed our little conversation was you had said that there's a history and a heritage with classical ballet, but when you go into that, you have to open that box and you have to do it properly with regard to understanding of where it comes from. So that's something I know that you've corrected me on, something that you've pointed out to me on, as a dancer. That it was born out of aristocracy. So, if we don't understand the legality of ballet, we can't perform, And so how do we as dancers educate ourselves? How do, we as teachers, help educate other dancers with that?
Yeah, it's difficult because we live in this society now where we don't have much in the way of example.
Right.
I suppose I can say that, I'm originally from England. We have a royal family. I remember as a little boy at Christmas watching the Queen give her speech on Christmas Day, which she still does, and always looking at her with some kind of admiration and respect that was sort of bred into our national culture. We didn't talk while she was speaking, even though she's on the television. We all sat quietly and listened for 10 minutes. And it was her way, her carriage, her deportment, her elegance, and her clarity, the integrity and the decency, dignity, the self-respect, the pride, that it was so obvious. And she's still like that at 93 years old. That sort of a fading beacon of light, really, that you can measure ballet up to. It's born in the royal courts. And I think, the poise of classical ballet, before anything else, is the elegance. My teacher at the Royal Ballet School used to talk about elegance, poise, and grace endlessly. That two of those made the other one. Elegance and poise made grace, and grace and poise make elegance, etc. And everything we did was sort of enshrined in that understanding. In more recent years, I've taught now 25 plus years. I've come to my own realizations, and they keep changing. But what I've really come to understand and probably feel is that most of classical ballet is in the upper part of the upper body. I've talked a lot lately about the chain of command of the body, that it really comes back to being about the head, being the crown of the posture. I know I've told you this, that the head, neck and shoulders and the way they appear are the hallmark of the classical dance, in both male and female. And if you are not able to hold the head and the neck correctly upon the shoulders, then you're never going to look like a classical dancer. So that first impression and image, when people look at you in the head, the face, the neck, the upper back, the chest, if you're not saying it there, you don't have a chance to get the message across the right way. And then understanding that, in order to have that, like wanting to give a ballet lesson, that the torso is supporting that. So therefore you need the flattened, broadened, lengthened back. And you need the stability in the spine from the abdominal and the front. And then, of course, you have the whole issue about turnout with classical ballet. And, without digressing, there's one reason why it's perhaps not such a good idea to introduce very young children to classical ballet technique, inclusive of turnout, because the body is not ready to do that correctly. And around about 9 or 10 years old, the body is developed in a way that it can manage to rotate the legs and the hips correctly with some sort of stability in the pelvis. And then you can go on and develop the legs appropriately and the feet. Everything really up to that age is preparatory in terms of the body. But back to your question about that, I think you have to, if you're going to do it properly, like anything, you have to have a full understanding of why it's the way it is. and where it comes from, and not just what to do, because that fades very quickly. When it's just what to do, it's like, well, show me what to do and I'll do it.
Right.
And anybody can mimic something. You know, I often feel like I see a lot of people in the street that I think have got maybe quite good anatomically for ballet. So I know with a bit of help I could put them in the right positions for a moment, and they could look relatively decent. But I think it's from the inside out, and you know, it's back to the royal family. It's bred in their way of being, is bred into them from birth. They grow up in a world where it's just a certain way. It's not unrealistic. It's not detached from the real world, as some people think. It's just a way of being with them. And that is a ballerina and a male ballet dancer, ballerino, if we're going to use the right.
Is that a right
Yeah,
terminology?
that is the right name. Yeah, it's ballerina for the female and ballerino for the male. It's like brava and bravo. It's from the very beginning of ballet. The emphasis should be on that. You know, I often said that, you know, a little girl or a little boy go to ballet. Maybe their mom puts them in the class first, but soon they're captured by the magic of it, the music, the movement, the imagination, the transformation into like another world. The little girl can be a princess, and she can sit, kneel beautifully with elegance, and she can use her hands and her eyes, and she can enjoy how it feels. The boy can stand tall, he can be like a soldier or a prince, and he can walk around and be very proud, and he can jump with big leaps and show his power. And you know, I mean, that's something else and a whole other thing about classical ballet, which we'll maybe not get into now, but you know, there is a beauty of the male and female in certainly in the traditional classical ballet, which, you know, that's somewhat faded in our current world, because, you know, we're living now and rightly so in many aspects. We live in a world where everyone can do everything and should be able to do everything. And you know, with respect to everybody's views and feelings, I mean, perhaps some of the lines are a bit hazy, and some people are not comfortable with some things, and others are comfortable with everything. But I think in ballet, you know, the roles of the male and the female, and the story ballets especially, are clearly delineated. And there's a certain beauty to that. That a girl can be a beautiful, feminine creature, and a man can be strong, masculine, proud, supportive character. And so, you know, that as well is hard, because we don't have those models in society, not like we do. Yeah, so it's hard, but I think, you know, to get people to do it, you have to bring, as a teacher, as a coach, you have to be aware and know about the history and heritage of ballet, and you have to bring it to your students. You have to make them aware, you have to show them, you have to help them. You have to make it such that they become attracted to that and that they want that. Because when people want something genuinely for themselves, that's really when it's going to happen. It's not going to happen just because you order them to do it.
Right.
You know, they have to want it by way of how they feel. And, that's it. Yeah.